Hello everyone and welcome to Back in Time Fiction. Second video about the Three Kingdoms of China, the setting of my ongoing series. Last video we did a general introduction on the topic of the Three Kingdoms of China, so if you're not very familiar with this era, go check it. And today we will dive right back into this amazing story with a focus on video games. Video games is easily the media that helped the Three Kingdoms gain popularity all over the planet over the last 20 years or so, and there has been a lot of games on this amazing story. Like, really a lot. You can go on the App Store or Google Play and you will find an endless number of games more or less related to the Three Kingdoms. But within this mass of games, there are really three franchises that stand out. In this video, let's discuss about those three franchises. How do they hold up historically speaking, or at least how do they hold up to the legend of the Three Kingdoms? We will also discuss what I feel are the best games within those franchises and also who they are for. I will introduce those three franchises in no particular order, just simply because I love them all the same. Let's start with The Romance of the Three Kingdoms by Koei, the game that started it all. Romance of the Three Kingdoms, or ROTK, was, as far as I know, the first video game based on the Three Kingdoms, way back in 1985. Since then, there has been 14 main titles. On Wikipedia, they classify it as a turn-based tactical role-playing simulation grand strategy war games. And just for being able to say it, I deserve you guys to give a like to this video. What it means is that in these games, you manage your own land, the resources, the domestic policies, recruitment, training, trade, and so on. You also delegate tasks such as diplomatic missions, spying, scouting, and so on. All of this with simple commands and inputting numbers. Then you end your turn and restart the process 1 week or 1 month later according to the title. Your land grows stronger and your goal is to conquer your neighbors until you rule the empire. You know those games that make you look really stupid from an exterior point of view because you keep moving? Well, that's not one of them. With Romance of the Three Kingdoms, you just look like you are doing nothing. This being said, it is super engaging and you never know how long you are going to play once you start a game of Romance of the Three Kingdoms. I have spent hours playing this game without even noticing, and in fact, in 2021, Romance of the Three Kingdoms 14 was the game I played the most with on my Switch, even though it's maybe the worst of the franchise. Why is it so good? Well, for a start, you grow a freaking empire, and depending on which lord you choose to incarnate, you may start with very little to begin with. The battles, or rather the campaigns, can be quite long, intense and hard fought, and the greatest fun of this game, to me at least, resides in planning and executing those campaigns. The map is huge, it's China after all, and is designed with a good understanding of the land's relief and natural difficulties. If you want to learn Chinese geography, that's a great game for you. Well, at least the geography of 3rd century China, because things have changed a little bit since. When you start a new game of Romance of the Three Kingdoms, you choose a specific moment and settings for your game. For example, you may start with the Yellow Turban Uprising, the coalition against Dongzhuo, the Battle of Chebi, etc. Then you choose a specific warlord. Let's say you start a game during the coalition against Dongzhuo and you actually choose Dongzhuo, you will start with a quite big chunk of land, but everyone will be against you. Now you can also choose another warlord, let's say Sun Jian, and you don't start with much, but you have a lot of space, which means you can grow more easily. Beside these points, whoever you choose will not impact your experience too much. The game is quite straightforward, and while it can take a certain amount of time to understand the dynamics and all the possibilities and so on, once you did, it works more or less the same way every time. Now, I haven't played all those 14 games, so feel free to go check more reviews here and there, but in my opinion, 2 of them really stand out, the 11th and the 8th. The 11th was the best overall experience of this series, with really cool management system, battle and duels, both between warriors and between scholars, which was pretty fun. The 8th was really interesting because it worked more on an RPG system where you choose a character rather than a force, and if your character was of low rank, he had to rise in the hierarchy. Earlier I mentioned the 14th wasn't the best, but it's still super engaging. I just really didn't like the influence system on the map where you basically have to paint each zone to your colors in order to really use them. It was actually quite tedious. Historically, this game is not the best among the three I will mention today, especially because it follows the novel, The Romance of the Three Kingdoms, rather than history. But if you are a fan of the novel, there is so much for you there. Among the strong points, the music is awesome, the number of characters is outstanding, basically any person named in the romance is there, and those games will keep you busy for hundreds and hundreds of hours if you let them. Finally, who is ROTK for? Well, first, it's not for people with eyesight issues, especially if you play on the Switch. Other than that, anyone who enjoys a good war strategy game or turn-based tactical game will love it. Knowledge of the Three Kingdoms isn't required, but it enhances the experience. And among the three games I will mention in this video, it is maybe the one requiring the most understanding of the era to be thoroughly enjoyed. Which brings us to game number 2, Total War Three Kingdoms, developed by Creative Assembly and published by Sega. This game is also a turn-based strategy game, but the mechanics between the two could not be more different. For a start, this one is a real-time tactic game, meaning the tension is a big notch stronger, especially during battles where you have full control of your different units and officers. It also means you don't have to micromanage your resources as much. This game is a lot more character-centric than the previous one and offers a whole different experience according to which force you choose. Choosing Cao Cao, for example, will give you unique manipulation and diplomatic techniques. Sun Jian has a heroism faction resource, while Sun Ce has a reckless luck bar that keeps going down unless you keep conquering certain lands, and if it reaches 0, he dies. All those mechanisms help keep the game fresh and challenging in new ways, which is a good thing because it comes with a massive drawback. When you buy the game, you can play from only one chapter of the story, which will always put the start in 190 CE during the campaign against Dongzhuo. If you want to play other chapters, let's say the Yellow Turbans or Guandu, you have to buy the DLC. They are not crazy expensive and they are truly worth it, but it stinks, to be honest. This being said, even with one chapter, the game is totally worth it and offers a very different experience than Romance of the Three Kingdoms. The aesthetic is outstanding, the possibilities are plenty, and it is historically rich. While ROTK follows the novel, The Romance of the Three Kingdoms, more often than not, Total War has a more historical approach, whether you are talking about the events, the timeline, the costumes, and the characters themselves. This effort went to the point that Rafe de Crespigny, who is probably the most famous historian and sinologist in the world when it comes to the Three Kingdoms, worked as a consultant on this game. It has a few negative points that deserve to be mentioned. First, the voice acting. It is quite annoying that no one in the English version seemed to know Chinese pronunciation, and many recurring lines are just plain bad.
Liu Ye still poses a threat.
If he cannot summon the strength to govern his own lands, then I will seize them and do it myself.
The number of characters is way below that of ROTK, which makes sense to be honest, but it is a bit sad when the game creates random characters rather than using names you might be expecting. And again, the DLC. I don't want to finish on a negative note, so let me reiterate that I absolutely love this game and it was a massive source of inspiration when I wrote Yellow Sky Revolt and the next ones as well. And altogether, I think I prefer Total War Three Kingdoms to Romance of the Three Kingdoms. Of course, none of those two series have the popularity, the impact, the fun of our last game, Dynasty Warriors. Man, just for the music, those games are awesome. Dynasty Warriors is a franchise of hack and slash games, meaning most of what you have to do is roam the battlefield while hacking through hundreds of enemies. It sounds simple enough, and it is, but it is also super addictive. The very first game in the franchise back in '97 was actually a one-on-one fighting game, but some of the characters have remained fairly close to the original version since then. Most characters have been added along the way, and what started with a roster of 14 characters from the Three Kingdoms era expanded to now reach a whopping number of 90 characters. There is a lot to say about those characters, starting from the fact that they are not all created equal and some can be considered odd choices. Plus, you know, Liu Hua is not one of them, but you know, whatever. I can make the same comment about the games themselves. They didn't receive the same amount of love. Dynasty Warriors 9, for example, the latest in a series and the first to try an open world mechanism, is often considered the most disappointing of the lot, while Dynasty Warriors 4 is often seen as the peak of the franchise quality. But altogether, it has always been a pleasure to play those games. A bunch of spin-offs have emerged over the years. Some are a little weird but still fun, like Dynasty Warriors Strike Force, where the characters kinda turn into super science. But two strong spin-offs follow the main series: Extreme Legend, games with basically more content than the main ones and sometimes with a stronger RPG feeling to it, and Dynasty Warriors Empire, a spin-off that is more focused on the strategy side, where you have to try to conquer China as you would in Romance of the Three Kingdoms, but with the action from the main Dynasty Warriors series. Dynasty Warriors became such a popular genre, called Muso in Japan, that it evolved into a myriad of other games, Samurai Warriors and Warriors Orochi, which are related to Dynasty Warriors, but also games set in the world of One Piece, Gundam, Zelda, Fire Emblem, and many more. Historically, Dynasty Warriors is the poorest of the three franchises and will most likely keep to the novel. But you can also feel the love, the passion for this era in small details spread throughout the games. You can, for example, find the biographies of all the small characters of the game in the main menu or during loading scenes as well. And even though this game should not be taken as a historical source, it is nevertheless the best starting point for anyone who wants to discover the Three Kingdoms of China. Dynasty Warriors gives a face, a personality, colors, and unique weapons, most of the times, to all its characters, making it easy to remember each of them, even without a strong grasp of the Chinese culture. Many people who love the Three Kingdoms started with Dynasty Warriors, so I really consider it to be the best of the three franchises to start with. Just, you know, don't start with the 9th, and actually, I would suggest start with Dynasty Warriors 8 Extreme Legend, if you don't want to go too old. And before the end of this video, I really want to mention two more games very quickly. The first is Kessen 2, just because it was actually really fun, even though from a historical point of view or even from the novel's point of view, it was awful. And the second is Wolong Fallen Dynasty, the latest baby of Koei Tecmo and Team Ninja. This game isn't out yet, it is just a few days ahead, but it looks absolutely stunning and I'm sure it will be worth it. This being said, this game is going to be released on Xbox One or PS5 and I don't have any of them. And I really want this game. Like, I need it, guys. So check the links in the description. The first one is for my novel, Yellow Sky Revolt. Go get one copy and help me get this bad boy of Wolong Fallen Dynasty. Thank you so very much. That's it for today. Thank you very much for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and tell me in the comments which is your favorite Three Kingdoms related video game. You can also tell me if I forgot an important one, and you can tell me why you also believe Dynasty Warriors 4 was the best. That's it for me. See you soon. Bye.